All right,
Um,
cool.
so, do you want to start or
Okay.
do you want me to start? You could start if you want.
Yeah, cool. Start. What's going on, people? So this is two Londoners and a mic, and this is our first ever podcast. We're just going to kind of give a bit of a background of who we are, how we met, and we're going to be talking for the next, couple of months, couple of years, and maybe the rest of our life. Let's see.
Yeah, I
We'll start.
agree with me. Hi guys, my name's Obada, and we're gonna talk about our love story, how we coincidentally met. No, but on a
Uh,
serious note, the way we met actually was a very, very funny and random story. He was with a friend at an Iranian Persian restaurant, and I was there as well with my family, but my family were just a bit late. So I was just sitting there on the table, and he was just standing there with his friend because it was very busy. They couldn't find the table. And, I just took the piss and I was like, because they were pushing on the chairs because it was a table for like six people. I was like, just take a seat, just take a seat. And then they laughed and stuff like that. And I found out that they were kind of similar age of me. And we just got to know each other. And we realized me and Shan had quite a lot of similar interests from the healthcare point of view, some business point of view, the general stuff. And he was kind of into building a social media brand. And I was in the process of doing that as well. So one thing led to another. We exchanged socials, and funnily enough, maybe was it a couple of weeks, Shan, that we met after, or
yeah, literally, I think it's been probably like a month or two. But yeah, it was just the kind of coincidence of meeting in a restaurant. We literally just spoke in the restaurant. I saw the vibes, the energy was good, was positive. Took the socials, kind of just started speaking. We met up, spoke about different matters. I'm in healthcare. I'm a physiotherapist myself, and he's becoming a medic. So we had that kind of similarity there, and we thought we're both interested in making a podcast, but we never had the opportunity of doing it in a
yeah.
way. And now we're here, and now we're
I
here,
mean,
kind of doing it now.
we ended up meeting at the so we ended up actually, because of our interests, we ended up meeting in person at an Arabic restaurant, like maybe a couple of weeks later or a month later.
Yeah,
We both have quite busy schedules, to be fair, but we ended up meeting. And then through that meeting, we talked about different kind of businesses and stuff. And one thing in particular that we thought to catapult us together, a shared interest, would be starting a podcast. And I was like, I've been meaning to start a podcast for a long time, but I'm usually doing a lot of stuff solo, so I would rather do it with someone. And he was like, I've been meaning to start a podcast as well. I was like, to be fair, we set perfect, it was perfect combination, perfect
yeah,
timing. And definitely took a lot of hours of testing to find out what's the best way, the software and everything. But thankfully, I think, as you guys can appreciate the quality, we got there eventually.
definitely, 100%. Yeah,
Yeah. And so just to introduce us properly, my name's Obada. I'm currently studying medicine at university in London, and I'm pretty much nearly a final year medic. And Shan, do you want to introduce yourself?
yeah, sure. Yeah, so I'm a physiotherapist currently working in the NHS. Also have my online business set up on social media. You can check me out on Instagram and on TikTok as well. Probably starting a YouTube channel soon too.
Yeah.
And and that's what I'm currently doing at the moment.
Yeah. By the way, guys, all the Instagram handles or all the links, you'll find it somewhere in the description. In terms of outside of medicine myself, I'm kind of the reverse. So he's kind of more into Instagram. That's his main game. I'm more into YouTube. So I do have a YouTube channel as well. And I do run an online tuition business, and I'm involved in an app company as well. So we kind of have a lot of shared interests, definitely. And we thought actually it was perfect timing that since it's Ramadan, which is the fasting month for a lot of people, and since even actually was it intermittent fasting is very famous amongst people as well who are not even Muslim, we decided
Definitely.
to kick this off as being the first episode, talking about three main sections, which is the nutrition for people during Ramadan or during fasting actually, and then the fitness, and then we're going to touch a bit on work and productivity and how to maintain that whilst we're fasting. So Shan, you could start off if you want with that
Yeah,
situation.
let's go for it. Kind of delve deep into like the nutrition of Ramadan and what is kind of the best way on how to optimize your health.
Mm.
So we'll just talk about generally like what is Ramadan. So some of our viewers might not know what Ramadan is. It's a period of fasting that we do as Muslims, to kind of self-reflect and kind of like it's like a sacrifice in essence. And within the period of not eating, not drinking, you know, we're going to be fasting for a long period of time. And then when we do open our fast, what should we eat? That's kind of the question that people do have. let's firstly ask about what he eats, what he ate yesterday, and then we kind of go from there.
Well, just to add to what you were saying first about
Yeah,
Muslims fasting, I think a lot of scientific research is catching up now and realizing the benefits of fasting in terms of rejuvenating and kind of resetting the body from the inside out. And a lot of people are taking this on board actually. And like Shan was saying, following up what he's saying, there's always a struggle of like, what do I eat? And the window of eating, because it's quite a short window, I think, is, people usually break their fast right now about, let's say, 7:40 p.m. and around 5 a.m. is when you have to stop eating. So you have a very short period of time of eating, and bear in mind, you have to digest the food. So what is your kind of best? So my current way, if I'm being very truthfully honest, I break my fast with the family, obviously. A lot of beautiful Arabic food. By the way, I'm Arab. If none of you recognize, I know there's no sun here, so I don't have that tan. But I just have to state that. But there's a lot of Arabic food. To be fair, Arabic food is kind of a Middle Eastern diet, and there's a lot of research which backs what I'm saying, which is it is technically one of the healthiest diets out there because of what it contains. Not so much the sweets. I'm talking about the mains. So I usually eat. It's hard to track calories when it's Arabic dishes because it's not like, simple dishes that are like, rice and chicken. It's kind of like a cooked food. So it's very hard to track the calories. After that, I wait to digest the food. And depending whether I'm in exam season or not, if I'm not, once I've digested the food and recovered completely, I go to the gym or go training, MMA, whatever it is. And then once I come back, either immediately or after an hour or so where I get quite hungry again, I have something called suhoor, which is basically we eat. Was it? How do you say in English? Kind of like.
Yeah. So basically, eating just before sunrise. Is that correct?
Yeah. But
Sunrise.
just before sunrise.
Always get mixed up.
Yeah, exactly. And that's kind of like my second main meal, you could say. And I pretty much have two main meals, maybe a few snacks in between, and that's pretty much it. Cheyenne, what about you? Give us a brief
let's
overview.
Definitely, let's kind of break that down. So for iftar, which is what we call opening the fast, around at the moment it's around 7:40 at the moment p.m. So kind of at the moment what I'm kind of doing, again, I'm Pakistani if you haven't realized, so from an Asian background, and obviously we have a traditional food. When people think of Pakistani food, they're probably thinking a lot of curries, a lot of fried food. It is quite tasty, let's be honest, but you kind of have to be careful when you think about that type of food for opening the fast. And if you're going to open your fast with like samosas, spring rolls, fried food, then you might not be optimizing your health, especially if you're a student or especially if you're working a tough kind of job. You need to make sure that you're having the right food so that you can kind of sustain your energy levels throughout the day as well. So something like having some eggs, for example, some boiled eggs might sound funny, right? But having some boiled eggs alongside with a decent like starter, like a tasty starter, we have something called daybale. And it's a random, I don't even know exactly what it is. I eat it because my auntie and my mum make it, but it's tasty. It's like a yogurt dish, right? And I kind of have that alongside my boiled eggs. So I'm having my protein, but I'm still having my carbs and / fats as well. So I wouldn't say completely like go off the junk food. Have a bit of it, but you need to make sure that you're having your kind of nutrient dense food as well. So what is your protein source? So thinking about it from a macronutrient perspective, which is basically means the three main sources of food. So you've got your carbs, carbohydrates, proteins, and fats, and thinking about what you're going to have within those. So when it comes to protein, you can have your eggs, you can have your meats, and that's what the majority of people are going to be eating. But just making sure it's not that that fried, or you're having a takeout on a daily basis, because
what's your opinion on in terms of the cheat meal? I heard there's two main concepts. So there's the person who has one cheat meal a week to go all out. Similar to, I think, Dwayne Johnson, The Rock, if anyone of you guys know him from WWE, famous actor. He does this where he goes crazy. He's famous for it. And some people do a much more smaller kind of cheat meal, you could say, but almost every day or every 2 days. I don't know if you've heard of this, and what's your opinion on it?
Definitely. Yeah, 100%. It's a good point. Cheat meals are kind of glamorized in the fitness industry. Like, you need to have a cheat meal, you need to do this. Personally, the way I kind of envision eating what you want to eat is you kind of need to be flexible with it. And I come from a holistic approach. So I'm pretty flexible with what I'm eating throughout the week. I don't really have a specific day or a specific time I'm going to have a cheat meal. I'll kind of just eat what I need to eat if I want to, but making sure I understand what's in that food and is it going to kind of alter or kind of impact my gains or my performance in the gym or jiu-jitsu, for example, because that's kind of one of the main things I do. So that's kind of
as well.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's another thing that we connected on. So About It does MMA, and I do like a sector within MMA, which is jiu-jitsu. But I do MMA as well.
So I'm sure that means you need to have a lot of energy because this is definitely more cardio intense, isn't it? For jiu-jitsu. Yeah. For the viewers who don't know, this is kind of a Brazilian martial arts that involves a lot of kind of submissions and a lot of bursts of energy compared to gym. I would say it's definitely more cardio intense and you need to have energy. And I don't know, are you training whilst fasting or not for jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so at the moment, I haven't had my first session yet. It's actually today. So Monday today, we're recording the podcast. It's at 8 o'clock where it starts. So at the moment, I'll be opening my fast with probably like a date. So when I say date, I'm not going on a date. I'm having a date, which is where does it come from originally? Is it Arabic?
The dates, it's usually from Palestine or from usually Palestine. Yeah. I mean, you could get dates from a lot, even from Saudi Arabia, from many different countries. Yeah, but I think the Palestinian dates are very famous for being quite nice.
How would you describe what date is?
So date is a fruit. It's a dried fruit, and it's got like a seed and it looks brown. And the reason we eat it, partially it's a religious kind of thing in terms of mimicking a tradition within the religion of the Islamic faith, but also actually from a nutritional point of view, it's got a high glycemic index. And for people who might not know what that means so the glycemic index it shows like how sharply a food increases your blood sugar. So the dates have a high glycemic index, which means that your sugar shoots up quite rapidly, which is very beneficial when you're fasting because your sugar's very depleted by then. So you eat it and immediately feel like your energy's back, which is why, it's very smart to use dates. It's kind of like a very healthy, natural energy booster, basically.
Definitely, 100%. I would agree with that.
And commenting on his jiu-jitsu thing, I've actually done a sparring session already whilst fasting before yesterday, which was the first day from that. So sparring in boxing, which was very intense, it's actually one of the most intense sessions for me because I'm in the ring, headgear on, it's hot, and I'm fighting round after round. I found it quite easy and surprisingly really easy, actually. I even went back home, did work, continued the whole day. But I think I know why. Because the timing of the session was very important. And that's the first tip that I'm going to be giving in terms of more fitness related, is that if you're going to do a training session, time it properly. So if you can do it, after breaking your fast in the middle of the night, then do that like a 24/7 gym. If you can do that, you have the luxury of doing that, that's perfect. Just do that. But if you don't, like my sessions are specific sessions, I can't move them around. I have to do them whilst I'm fasting. So if you did it early in the morning, what would happen is you'd have so many hours left of fasting that you'd get really tired and dehydrated and hungry. So you'd end up like really struggling. And if you do it too late, by then kind of your energies are quite low. So my session was exactly around 2:30, I think. So it was just enough time where even though I had woken up, whatever, it's kind of like, even when I'm not fasting, usually sometimes I could skip the breakfast to go straight to the session with an empty stomach. So I've still got the energy and I'm fine. And when I'm done with the session, there's only maybe a few hours and then I'm breaking my fast. So it was actually perfect, to be fair, to do.
That's just kind of go into that. So during your session, did you have the mindset of kind of training within like in a flow state, or were you like going at it, kind of going how you?
I'll be honest, with my training sessions, there was a couple of people who were fasting that day. Actually, it wasn't just me. A lot of them were trying to take it easy and stuff, like maintain the energy. I wasn't. I was going out. If I'm honest, I actually was doing it because I love sparring, especially. But the thing was, my boxing coach did kind of take it easy on us, including me, because he knew we were fasting. But I was still getting the rounds in and everything. It was perfectly fine. But for example, I usually do 2 to sometimes 3, but usually 2 sessions per day, back on back, which would involve about 3 hours of training. But because I'm fasting every day when I'm going to be training, so Monday to Thursday, Monday to Friday, when I'm doing my sessions, it's actually only one session, which is about an hour and 15 minutes. So this is the adjustment that I did. So I'm still going out properly in the session, but I'm doing only one instead of two. So my body's used to doing two. One is sufficient. That's all I'm going to be doing. And for anyone who doesn't know, MMA standing for mixed martial arts. That's, basically wrestling, boxing, kickboxing, jiu-jitsu, and maybe Muay Thai. So I switch it up, but mostly wrestling, boxing, and jiu-jitsu that I'll be doing.
Definitely. I think we kind of delved deep into like nutrition, then we went into the kind of the fighting aspect.
They overlap a lot, I suppose. So
definitely 100%. Just to kind of go back into the nutrition aspect. Again, when you open your fast, what you're supposed to eat. I personally trained before, as you mentioned, you trained kind of fasting as well. There's no wrong or right. And I mentioned this in one of my posts on Instagram earlier. I personally like training before, when the fast opens, like an hour or two before. And obviously that sometimes that you might not have the time to do that. But the reason I like that is like you can incorporate the mental aspect to it. And you probably have noticed this when you're training, that dehydration, the kind of the mental clarity as well when you're working out is not the same. You haven't got that same focus. And that, I think that is a major thing to have to become better. And I think something like David Goggins was saying in one of his videos, you gotta stay hard. And
gotta wake up and do 10,000 push-ups, man. I don't know if you guys know who David Goggins is, but this guy's a joker.
He makes me laugh.
He's just suffering. I wanted to ask you actually, you were mentioning that training before and after in terms of comfortability. I do also think, I'm not sure about this 100%, but I do have a theory, I haven't researched it properly, that surely if you're training before, because your body's depleted of energy, obviously, so you're in low sugar and forget the water for a second, I think you'd be tapping more into your fat reserves. So I do think that if you're trying to lose fat particularly more, because you're low in sugar, your body's going to go and burn that fat to get that sugar, basically. So if you want to lose fat particularly, it will be useful to do whilst you're fasting. Whereas after you're fasting, because you've already had that sugar, you would probably still burn some fat, of course, and build your muscle and everything, but it's not going to be as prominent or as efficient, I would say, in terms of losing fat. What do you think of that?
I think, it's an interesting concept. I think there's a lot of research regarding that the last couple of years. The kind of evidence at the moment regarding that, I think there's not a huge difference between fasted versus non-fasted, but compared to the hours we're doing, I think what adds to it is our eating period. And that is one of the key factors, because we're restricted in how much time we have to eat. That gives us the capability or the ability to not eat as much as we would normally. So then if you can maximize on your protein and maybe have less carbon and fats, in turn, you might get that effect of fat burning, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
That kind of makes
remind
sense.
me, we need to get back to talking about the protein, because I have a very interesting kind of thing that I wanted to mention about it. But before we jump to that, regarding nutrition, there is also the idea that, and that is quite popular, is that it's mainly about the calories and not so much about the macros. Now, I am a bit more of a macros person as well, just like you are. But apparently, if you're eating the calories themselves, as long as you're staying within your calorie limit, you will actually be fine. Maybe not the healthiest, depending on what you're eating. So your health will depend on what you're eating. But in terms of looking good and losing the fat and all of that and gaining the muscle, you'll be fine pretty much if you are kind of, or your weight will be fine if you're within the calorie limit. I think I'm not sure if you agree with me or not.
So you're basically saying that if you're having your calories, maintenance calories, right? So
let's say to lose weight, you needed to drop to, I don't know, 1,200 calories, for example, 1,500 calories. Okay. For that person, if they are always in 1,500 instead of, let's say, 2,000, which is the maintenance for them or something, they will consistently lose weight and they will be, they'll be fine, or whatever, they'll achieve that goal of the 1,500 calories, even if that is basically not the best calories. Now, would they be healthy? Probably in long term, probably not, because you need to be getting your nutrients, your macronutrients, your micronutrients, all kinds of stuff. But you know, initially I would say start with the calories and then delve more into macros and then start finding out, you know, how much protein you need, how much carbs you need, how much fat you need, and what fat
Definitely.
is good for you. What, you know, you get the gist. You kind of
All
keep
that
going
stuff.
deeper. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And that kind of relates to fasting in essence. So when people ask me, oh, what do you think the best way of losing fat is? You know, it doesn't change. It doesn't change to when you were not fasting, you know, what were you doing then to lose fat? So it's basically the same thing, but now you have more of an excuse to lose fat because you haven't got the time to eat. So you can use it to your benefit. So within that period of time, let's say you're aiming for 2,000 calories, and that's your deficit. You worked out using a calculator, for example. You then can eat whatever you want, obviously, to what you want to have. You know, if you want to be healthy, then you can pick healthy options. But if your main goal is just to lose weight, then the process is pretty straightforward. You know, unless you have some medical condition or you have other factors.
I think one huge mistake that I've had many people come up to me and ask my kind of knowledge on the topic, I suppose, because we do have a nutritional, you know, I've learned nutrition basically in the course I'm taking, is that recently I actually had this 2 days ago in the sparring session. One of my friends there, he goes like, you know, I need to lose this weight, and I was like, he's like, I lost all of it, I looked perfect. After 2 months of sticking to the strict diet, I went and binged eat. He was binge eating, you know, pizzas and burgers, and he gained it back. I told him this is a huge misconception. People think that to lose the weight, you have to do this diet. What's going to happen is if you're doing a diet that you're not really enjoying necessarily, like it's kind of like a struggle to do, there's no way in hell you're going to continue this for the rest of your life. Doing a proper diet where you look healthy and you're enjoying the food you're eating, it has to be a way of life. And what I mean by that is once you find out your calories and macros and all that, you know, start replacing unhealthy foods with healthy alternatives and maybe reducing them. If you go like, oh, I'm going to cut bread completely, I'm going to cut sugar completely. You could do that if you want for a particular thing. Like, you know, if you've got a wedding coming up, maybe. Do you know what I mean? A couple of weeks, you want to lose that weight, bam, you could do that. But to consistently kind of stay healthy and really like have a nice, good looking body with healthy on the inside and outside, you need something where, for example, instead of eating white bread, try to eat wholemeal bread. Instead of eating white pasta, you switch it with wholemeal pasta and kind of like cut down on sugars, you know, just maintain it, still eat stuff you enjoy, but kind of reduce it. Like, especially with desserts, I'm a big dessert person. Do you know what I mean? I'm a fat kid. Okay. I'll be honest with you. I'm being straight up. Yeah. If you kind of like with certain things, you crave it. So if you got a cake, you know, if you're craving the cake, sometimes 1 or 2 mouthfuls should be enough to kind of cut that craving rather than eat the whole big slice, for example. Do you get it? So these are ways where you can still enjoy what you want to enjoy, but kind of, you know, tone it down a bit. I don't know. Okay,
so is that kind of one of the strategies you use to kind of like control your cravings, but also like so that you don't have to have a cheat meal in essence, because you can still enjoy the foods
on a day-to-day basis. For example, if I see a Ben and Jerry's and I'm really craving it, I could have 2 spoonfuls of it and then maybe 3. I'm a big guy, maybe 3. But after that, it's like, you know, I've had that flavor, I've had that taste. I can stop it, and that now it's easier to stop because I've tasted that craving. But I do also do an extreme, not extreme, I would say, but quite strict form of dieting. But I'm comfortable doing that. But I know this is not my long-term thing. So, for example, I could do this, which is something I'm planning on doing or kind of already started, which is to like cut certain things almost completely. So crisps, chocolate, and processed sugars. When I say processed, I don't mean, you know, raw honey and dates. I'm talking about, you know, or fruits. I'm talking about, you know, anything like, you know, chocolate, ice cream, all of that. Fully cut that off for about a month, maybe more.
Let's explain to people who don't know what processed sugars are, kind of like a bit more. So processed sugars, they might think that, you know, having dates is still sugar, having fruits is still sugar. But in essence, when we're talking about processed, we're talking about kind of refined, like stuff that is out
refined.
Refined.
Basically. So it's not natural, guys. It's added sugar usually, and it's stuff that's usually very high in sugar. That's not natural. It doesn't come natural. Like, you know, with dates, it's naturally got that normal sugar in it. And I think also it's a lot of times it's a different form of sugar, isn't it? So sometimes it's sucrose, which is fructose, or fructose,
we won't go too deep into that.
We're getting very nerdy,
difference
aren't
we? In that. Yeah, we are. And then you can also talk about like
guys. If you're not on the same intellectual level, just you might as well just, you know, Just I'm joking. I'm joking.
Yeah,
Instead.
no joke.
Yeah.
I think we still got lots to learn, and that's the beauty of this kind of like podcast. I'd love to have like a guest who's an expert in nutrition, kind of go deeper into sugars and the difference between fructose versus sucrose, all that stuff.
I'm sure we know people will get on board. I personally do know a few nutritionists. Yeah. I mean, even my dad's an endocrinologist, so that's kind of his thing, So
go
I'm not trying to stunt guys, but
we're gonna get your dad on the next podcast.
Yeah, but he charges per hour. That's what I'm saying. So if you want him, he's gonna charge per hour.
All right, let's kind of step back from the nutrition, and we can talk a bit about kind
fitness.
of So kind of we touched on the training side to it. Now thinking about fitness and how. Now you've got your set nutrition plan in place. You've got you're going to eat decent foods. You're going to be eating that throughout the period of the time you have. You're going to try and meet your calories. Now, how can you pair that up with a good fitness program? And we're not when we're thinking about fitness in Ramadan, we're not trying, or fasting in general, we're not thinking of trying to get the PR. We're not trying to get the personal new best record. We're not trying to achieve so much in a month, because in grand scheme of things, that month is not a long time.
Yeah.
So let's start off with kind of what is your kind of regime at the moment? I know you're doing mixed martial arts throughout the week. So are you going to the gym? I
think we should touch on what each of us does and what the correct advice is, because obviously I am not perfect. And Cheyenne also doesn't stick always to, what we preach, because we're human just like everyone else, So I'm going to tell you what I actually do and versus what I think should be the ideal.
Okay.
I think the most important thing is actually consistency. Like Cheyenne said, it's not about trying to break the records right now. I get it. You're very excited. This is it. This is my time. Okay, calm down. What we're trying to do is just kind of stay consistent. So for me, it's, it's more mental actually for me, because I'm going to be training whilst fasting, doing, about 4 or 5 MMA sessions a week. And then if I can, I'm going to try to do 2 gym sessions a week as well. So that'll be training 7 days a week. I mean, for me, I don't find it, for me, my physical body is actually quite normal. Like I don't get, for me, actually exercise helps me, because a lot of the work that I do, aside from working in the hospital, is sedentary. Yeah. So, I'm on the computer so many hours. People back in the day, if you go a couple 100 years back, they're constantly moving. Everything they do involves movement. Nowadays, all we do is sit. In the train, you're sitting. At work, sometimes you're sitting. So to kind of counteract that, exercise an hour plus a day for me is nothing. I'm doing mainly MMA, and which is very cardio intense. And some strength training, and then the gym is purely strength training pretty much. And my sessions are, majority of them technically are going to be like, they start around 5:30, you could say, or 6, and they finish about 7:15. And then making my way back home, there'll be like mid 15 minutes before you break your fast and start eating. And before I tell you what I think the ideal way, my personal opinion, I want to see, Cheyenne, what you do in your kind of like day-to-day schedule.
Okay. Yeah. So before, let's what I was doing before fasting. So before Ramadan, my normal schedule, it kind of varies month to month, but a typical regime without not being injured. So I'm currently injured at the moment. Do about 3 jiu-jitsu sessions a week. Yeah, knee injury. Yeah, during
actually.
Yeah, it's actually.
That's not the meme. It's not the meme one. It's a real one.
No, it's actually a real one. Yeah, no, I'm not. I haven't become. I'm not becoming a pro because of the knee injury. Not one of those stories. You always hear that. You hear a footballer saying that didn't become a footballer because of ACL injury or something like that. No, so basically, during jiu-jitsu, during sparring, it was unfortunate. I popped my LCL, which is a ligament on the lateral side of the knee, and that normally takes at least a good couple of months to recover. But it wasn't fully ruptured, so that's a good sign. Doesn't mean I need surgery. So it can heal on its own.
That's very thankful. Yeah. To be honest.
Yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, I'll be sitting in my hospital.
you'll be probably doing the surgery. Okay, so thinking about what I was doing before, so 3 sessions a week of jiu-jitsu, and then alongside that, I was probably doing around 3 sessions of gym, so 6 times, and then probably resting, having an active recovery for what on my rest day. So either doing like a swim or going to the steam sauna, whatever. Really just having a nice day of just relaxing. That's kind of
Can
what
I
my
ask you a
schedule was.
question?
That's quite, yeah.
To interrupt you for a second. I think for some of the people listening, they don't know that you're also a personal trainer, I think, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when I
So
mentioned, yeah.
do these training sessions include your personal training sessions, or is it within it, or is it separate? How would you kind of explain it to the listeners?
Yeah. So that's separate. So I'm a physiotherapist during the week in the NHS, and then I do online coaching on the weekends normally. And within the online coaching, that's kind of virtual. So I'm basically sitting like this. I'll be coaching through my clients to work out, maybe demonstrate them some exercises if they've never done an exercise before. But I don't do one-to-one in person at the moment. So I'm quite flexible with that.
Fine.
So in the session that I am training, I normally train with myself, or I normally go train with my cousin as well, or a friend. So it kind of just varies on who's
okay. So it's not part of it
train.
in terms of like the actual exercise hour. This is pure just
No.
training. Yeah.
Yeah. This is just kind of my own personal training. I'm just trying to.
So you're staying quite active, I can tell, in Ramadan as well. You know, quite a lot of hours of training. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to. Yeah. Go on.
I'm assuming you're working as well 5 days a week, probably along the lines.
Yeah. So so that's why I'm trying to kind of cut down a bit of the training. So now my schedule is a bit changed. So I'm going to try and do, because of the injury as well, I'm doing 2 sessions of jiu-jitsu, which is at 8 o'clock. So I can quickly eat something, have like a date, maybe like a drink, which includes like electrolytes, just to kind of get my sugars and my all my levels up and running, so I can kind of do that session. And then I'll do probably like maybe
taking the
2 sessions.
Prime hydration drink.
No, what's that?
You don't know about it? I don't know if you guys know about this. I don't know if you've heard of like KSI, Logan Paul. Well, no, yeah, maybe they'll sponsor us soon. So you know, we're early adopters now, but they made this new hydration drink. Did you not hear about it? You know, KSI.
Oh, okay,
yeah, the coloured ones.
Seen Logan Paul. Yeah, all that stuff.
You know, they promote the hell out of it.
I've seen The Rock's got his own Zoa or something like that.
Oh, everyone's doing their own thing, but I think what they did was quite good. Is I think that the flavor was nice. Apparently, I haven't tried it myself.
Okay,
and it's really low in sugar in terms of like it's very like, you know, very healthy in the sense. So I think because they're YouTubers, I think they wanted to disrupt the market. So the only way they could do that is make it cheaper, make it taste better, and then make it even better in terms of calories, because they don't care. They're not like this big company who kind of control the market, dominate the market, like Lucozade and all of these ones. So yeah. Oh, by the way, speaking of which, what's your pre-workout, post-workout? If you do take any protein shakes, I don't know, what's your opinion on that? Because I've got quite a few certain opinions on this as well myself. But you go ahead, tell me if you take any.
Obviously at the moment no pre-workout because of fasting, but normally no. You know what? I'm not that into it anymore. I used to be all into that, you know, taking the pre-workout, this and that. But now I'm pretty natural. I kind of just, I try and just have a bit of sugar before the workout, and that could be in the form of some sort of food, or maybe some sort of drink.
Yeah.
I don't tend to take pre-workout anymore. If I do take a pre-workout, it'll be coffee. You know, just have some caffeine from the coffee, and that kind of gets my heart racing. I feel like I have too much pre-workout, especially before jiu-jitsu. My heart is like palpitating. I mean, what you call it, palpitate? I'm getting so many palpitations, and it feels like it's going to
use the medical words for me, yeah.
Palpitations.
Do you know what? Actually, speaking of that was literally when you mentioned coffee. I was going to say, for anyone who doesn't know, I've literally had 1 sip of coffee in my whole life. That's it. Literally, I've never had anything more than that.
No
never.
way.
Yeah, and everyone's been telling me, you know, in this point of your life, now you're going to be drinking coffee. I avoid it for that particular reason. But actually, we had a woman actually come to hospital with, I don't want to get all like medical with you guys. Like, I'll name the condition. It's called supraventricular tachycardia, but it's basically a fast heart rate. And she had to go into A&E and like, we had to save her heart and all that kind of stuff. But what triggered it actually was the coffee. What people don't know is that, think of it in a logical way. You're going to increase your heart rate when you're exercising. Now, before you exercise, if you take caffeine, you increase your heart rate, and then you exercise, and so you're increasing your heart rate even more. So you're making that heart muscle work too much. So my personal opinion is, I would always avoid coffee if you take it before. The whole sugar concept or taking some energy, I think that's fine. You know, I personally, I usually take either dates or bananas actually. So I'll have a banana
Yeah,
about 30 minutes before, and this gives you kind of a slow kind of delivery of sugar, I suppose, that gives you just enough energy. And if I'm fasting, I don't take anything anyways. And for
yeah,
post-workout, I have taken protein shake before. I'm not regardless, I'm not an advocate of it. The best form of food is natural, like through natural food.
yeah,
So,
definitely.
if you want protein, just eat actual food and avoid protein shakes. I know plenty of people who've had kidney, issues and nearing kidney failure because they are
Yeah,
listening to the whole, how many grams per pound and all of that. And a lot of it is excessive, in my opinion. Most of these, just to clarify, guys, 80% of probably people that you see in the gym or the people, in bodybuilders, they probably take steroids, at least 80%. Do you know what I mean? So a lot
that's
of
a
people that,
controversial topic.
no. There's not like, I'm not against it if someone's taking action. I
Oh no,
couldn't
no.
care
I
less.
to
Yeah.
be fair, like
Because it's their choice,
it's
their
probably
body. You
true.
could do whatever you want. Yeah. But I think it's very important that people are aware of it because it creates a very false sense of reality of what is achievable in certain periods of time. You walk in, everyone's shredded and everyone's wide and wham and muscles like big as their bald heads. Yeah. That is definitely steroids in majority of the time. Some of it
True.
is either unattainable or you could maybe attain it sometime, but it take years of consistent training. So,
Yeah,
setting these kind of false expectations creates mental health problems amongst young, both guys and I don't know about girls taking a lot of steroids necessarily. Girls, they do, it's more
yeah,
of the plastic surgery route where they get rid of the fat. Do you know what I mean? And then the girl goes like, how does she have a body like this? And it's, a lot of it is might be plastic, which again is completely fine. You want to do your thing. But for the younger girls, those who are not that aware, a lot of this is, could be surgery or could be, certain steroids, which, drastically change your appearance. And be aware that to achieve that naturally, it takes more time. And it is better, in my opinion, to always achieve everything naturally. I don't know, Shan, what would you think of these controversial
yeah. So
statements I've made?
where did we come? Where was the original point again? So
We're
we're
talking about
talking about.
pre-workout and post-workout.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so
Yeah.
that it's going to depend where you get your source from, isn't it? That's kind of what you're trying to get at. And if you're looking at social media, if you're looking at especially what people post nowadays, there's a lot of marketing involved. So if you're gonna buy a pre-workout and you're checking it out from someone who's an influencer, then you've got to do your own research, and that goes with everything. Is it a trusted source that you're getting it from,
True.
and is that person promoting himself as a natural athlete, but he looks kind of sus? Sus means suspect, and you kind of have to if you've been in the industry for a while, especially like I've been in this industry for a couple of years now, more than 3, 4, 5 years now, and you understand what is achievable naturally and what is not, and you do get the beasts who are just genetically gifted and they do are natural and they're just
there's a famous guy who goes up to bodybuilders and asks them if they're natty or not. If anyone doesn't know, I'll try if I can to put a little clip right now whilst I'm talking
I think
on the screen for people to see. He's very controversial, but I think, do you know why he does it? He does it not to confront just the people in general, but especially people who sell products and like brand themselves as being natural. And let's say he knows that they're not natural, he confronts them straight to the face, like, tell me, are you natural or not? It in a somewhat controversial way. But I think it's actually very important because he's kind of, you want to sell your products, fine, but don't claim you're natural when you're selling a product. Because now people are thinking, oh, if I buy your product, I'm going to look like you, which is not true because you're on steroids, if that makes sense. But continue what you're saying, sorry.
But I think that's something we can touch on another episode, kind of going into the depths of taking steroids, what the effects are.
That topic is going to be a hot topic.
Yeah, and we'll get someone on here who knows more about it. Someone who's actually a bodybuilder who actually probably takes them.
Maybe if you can find someone who's on steroids as well. We're going to have to fit them in the camera screen.
But let's kind of touch back. Won't go too far away from the kind of pre and post workout in relation to Ramadan. But I think you kind of covered it, to be fair. So I hope the viewers kind of get
in terms of post workout. I do sometimes like, you know, protein shakes are convenient. So, you know, maybe you're doing a milkshake, like a normal natural milkshake, you know, with bananas, honey, and milk and stuff. And you go like, you know what, I want to add a scoop of 25 grams of protein. It gives you straight that, you know, post-workout kind of extra protein without having to like cook the chicken and stuff. I
Yeah,
suppose you
yeah.
could do that. It's not like harmful, as long as me personally, my opinion, from a medical opinion, this whole concept that is thrown around amongst bodybuilders of how much grams you need per pound of muscle, per kilogram muscle, it is quite an overshoot. And especially when
Okay.
you hear people taking like 250 grams or stuff like that. This is, from a medical standpoint, this is too much, because your kidney filters your blood, and it deals with the protein basically. So when you're eating this much protein, the kidney's not having enough time, and that's why you end up having kidney failure, because you just like, it's like a machine. You're like pushing, pumping through it. It can't filter all of that. Obviously, this is highly dependent also on your size. You know, if you're like flipping 6'8" or something, you know, you could probably take that comfortably, because your
Yeah.
calorie depends on who you are. But yeah, I think maybe we should also touch on the difference between women and men, because I'm sure they have different kind of requirements, especially girls. The exercises that they tend to do, usually, I think, you know, I'm not an expert on this at all.
Okay.
Maybe we could bring sometime a female, somewhat athlete, you could say,
Definitely.
to give her opinion. But I think they tend to focus more on the legs and the toning of the
Whether that,
body. You know,
whether
I'm
that's
not
a
complaining. Do you know
preference.
what I'm trying to say? I'm fasting, but I'm not complaining. You know, that
I would
hourglass
say,
figure, some would say.
yeah. I think obviously with females, but you get, yeah. My clients, they're all varied. Some people want to work on their lower body. Some people actually want to, gain some upper body strength. I've got some
Yeah.
clients who actually want to get a push up, and that's one
Uh-huh.
of their goals. So you need to dedicate the program kind of to doing the things that you are going to achieve that pull up. I mean that push up. Sorry,
I
and
think what you
it might be.
said is a very good point, and I want you to expand on that a bit about the program
Okay, go on.
concept. So a lot of
Okay,
people don't follow a program. So I want you to tell the people what it means to follow a program, and how would you go about doing
yeah,
that?
and this is going to relate to in Ramadan. You got 30 days. Are you following a program? So what a program is basically something that is written down. You planned it before. It's kind of like a smart goal, you planned it before, and you know exactly what you're going to be doing, during the week, and what your end goal is for the month. And you can kind of track this through. Let's say, for example, one of the exercises is a squat. You've got 4 sets of 5 reps, for example. You're going to do this weight on this day. What are you going to do the next week? Are you going to increase the weight to try and overload your body so that you're still growing, you're still getting stronger?
Mhm.
That might be tough during Ramadan because obviously you're fasting. So you might not be worried too much about progressing, but you might be thinking, oh, how can I maintain what I've gained for the last couple of months? These sweet gains that people thinking about, oh, I'm going to be losing my gains. What am I going to do? Cheyenne, Abada, tell me what I'm going to do. Help me out, guys. I need some help. And look, guys, in the 30 days, you'll be fine. There's been research showing that fat-free mass doesn't really get lost in Ramadan. And I actually made a story about this as well. So don't worry too much. Focus on just maintaining and focus on the month, and I think you will be fine. That's
Yeah,
kind of like the end point when it comes to that.
100%. I think following on that, with regards to the programs, you guys need
Yeah.
to make sure that you don't just wing it. For example, if you got a some assignment or project, whether it's for work or studies at university, you're gonna plan. You're gonna like, okay, I'm gonna try get the hypothesis done. I'm gonna try write the introduction, then the body, then the conclusion on that day. It's the same thing with training. You don't want to go there and just wing it. You kind of plan. Okay, so Monday, I'm going to do, I don't know, some people do push pull. And if you guys don't know what that is, you could search it up, but it's just basically push exercises versus pull exercises. And
Yeah.
others might go like, I'm going to do chest day, then leg day, then back on that day. And whatever you want to do it, but have a schedule and kind of like a routine, this time to that time. Try and as best as you can, stick to a routine and a schedule. And that will make
Let
everything
me.
so much better, I think.
Now you've kind
And
of gone into the path of you're kind of talking about now, but productivity, and I think that's what you're gonna maybe touch on now.
100%.
Yeah.
Because kind of that month of fasting is like you said, it's not just about reflection, but we kind of use it as an opportunity to get our life back together, not just spiritually, but even from avoiding a lot of distractions, not going out as much in terms of seeing friends and going out and having fun. Kind of, well, you could have fun, but as in, It's more about,
Different.
sticking to a more productive and the best version of yourself, kind of like resetting yourself. And me personally, I'm very big on productivity and efficiency and all of that. And I talk about that a lot in my blog called medfluence.ghost.io, which is, you'll find in the description below. So I use a lot of apps. I'm very into using apps and all this kind of stuff, and I do schedule my day pretty much to the hour, sometimes to the minute if I have to. So so I think it's really, really important to schedule it. And I use different apps, depends what you want to use. I personally just stick to Apple Calendar to day-to-day stuff. But I think with regards to creating a checklist, sometimes I use the Reminders app, sometimes I use an app called Things, and there's also To Do. So a mixture of these kind of apps to kind of
Let me stop you there for 1 sec.
Yeah, go on.
The reason I'm stopping you, because that's actually a great point that you raised, is the idea of having a timetable, having a schedule. And honestly, that's one of the most important things if you want to improve productivity. And I've realized that myself. And everyone has had their procrastination days, hours. And one of the things that does help me, that I do, and when I do it, it kind of makes me stay on plan, is having a timetable. So I want you to kind of go in a bit more detail on why you think that's a good idea, and I'll maybe give you my idea of why I think that's a good way of doing it as well.
Thankfully, I've written a whole blog post on how to avoid procrastination.
Okay.
I actually made a video on it as well. Yeah, so it's all on my blog. But to kind of give you a brief overview of why I think so, the reason we procrastinate is because we're constantly finding an excuse not to do the work. So we're constantly thinking about what we want to do or how we want to do it, but we're not actually doing the action itself. So when you plan, that gives you no excuse pretty much to procrastinate. So if you go like, every night or every morning, your choice, every night tonight, I'm going to plan the day ahead. Okay. So the day that's coming up. So I spend 10, 15 minutes planning exactly what I'm going to do the day. So have breakfast, do 2 hours of studying, I don't know, medicine, do 2 hours of training, then come back, do 1 hour of podcast, and then 2 hours of YouTube and 1 hour of business. And then you could break it down. You could do whatever you want. Once you plan it, when the next day comes, you wake up in the morning, there's no time spending, what am I doing today? How am I going to do this? No, you just do. You just action. Don't get lost in the cycle of like feeling like, I want to do this, I'm going to do that, but you're not moving anywhere. You're still there. You're not doing anything. And this is kind of something that I mentioned a lot about, the danger of fake self-help books, which we've probably heard a lot about. You've heard of these books, which I do enjoy reading these books, Atomic Habit, I don't know if you've heard of it, or the 4-Hour Work Week. But all these kind of like famous books of how to be productive. Now, these books are good, but they actually become a vicious, dangerous cycle where you read them thinking like, okay, I'm going to read it and I'm going to be this productivity genius. And then you finish and go, I'm going to read another one. And then you read another one, but you're not doing anything. You're just learning about how to be productive, but you're not actually doing anything. Actions speak louder than kind of words or thoughts, basically. So I don't know what your viewpoint on this is.
That's actually quite interesting. Because there's many people on Instagram, many people on social media who are the motivated type, especially Gary Vee, the big like.
Don't get me started on this guy.
He's a big.
Man, he's got his, seriously. Like, I missed out on Uber when I was like 15, and
wow, that's actually
content.
pretty good. That's
it's all about content.
This guy. That's actually pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that was pretty good.
Yeah.
But the reason why I mention him is because kind of similar to what you're saying with the books. I think people get indulged with watching their content, reading the books. And don't get me wrong, it's important to kind of view their content and listen and read these books. But then, okay, you've done it now. What are you going to do now? What is a step? What is a checklist that you're going to do now? Are you going to read more books?
Just, guys, just like, was it Shia LaBeouf? I don't know if you've seen that meme of him where he just goes like, just do it. That guy's just do it and it's exploding.
Okay. Yeah.
Literally just do it. Stop thinking about it too much and just do it.
Yeah.
You want to do a podcast? Just do it. You want to start a blog? Just do it. You want to start your research paper? Just do it. It doesn't matter. The hardest step is actually starting it. And then when you start it, everything becomes easy. It's not.
So let me ask you, what are your top 3 tips to prevent procrastination for our viewers right now, and especially during
number
Ramadan,
one, I've already mentioned it. Just do it. even if you don't feel like just do it. Just start it. Doesn't matter. That's the number one.
Wait,
Number
within
two,
that number one, number one, let's say they have that feeling where their mind's telling them they don't want to do it. What strategy can you put in place, like a block, so that you don't procrastinate? What kind of thing can you put in place?
Break your task. If you find that task kind of like too difficult to that fear of starting it is too big, break it down to something very simple. So I'll give you an example. The gym. I'll use an educational example and a fitness example. The gym. Okay. You might be very overweight or very unhealthy or very under, whatever it may be, and you're really like nervous of going to the gym and you've never trained there. You don't know how to exercise. You feel embarrassed that if I go there, everyone's going to look at me. Number one, trust me, no one cares. No one's going to look at you. No one really is obsessed with what you're doing. Yeah.
100%.
And so what I mean by just do it is that, okay, if I'm telling you, go to the gym, you're like, that's too big of a step for me. The next smaller step would be go to the gym and don't exercise. Walk around there, fill up your bottle of water, drink, look at the machines, have an idea of what's going on and just leave. That's enough. You've done the first step. You didn't even exercise, but that is the first step. So break it down, make it smaller. From an education standpoint, that would be something, let's say you got a big 33-page dissertation that you need to do. And you're like, oh my God, there's so much to do. Like, I'm scared. I can't do it. The simplest thing would be like, open a Word document, just write the title. Just write the title and that's it. Go on Google, just dab on Google, go like, just write the title and that's it. And end it. And that's it, finished. 2 minutes, nothing more. Trust me, that 2 minutes will be like, you'll tell yourself like, okay, I'll write maybe one line. That one line will turn to two. Next thing you know, you spend an hour or two, you wrote a small paragraph. Next time you'll write 2-3 paragraphs. And next thing you know, you're writing. Once you do that first step, like think about it, if you're always going to the gym, all you're doing is checking the machines. First time you might do that, but next time you're like, okay, maybe I'll see what this machine does. Let me just try it out. And as the days go by, you'll end up fully exercising in the gym.
Basically taking that step-by-step process in essence.
So going back to the three, that will be just doing it. Basically, that's the main one. Number two, I suppose it does kind of overlap. Is basically breaking the task into achievable chunks. So chunking information into small, manageable, bite-sized kind of tasks. And three, what would three be? I just can't think something on the top of my head. But how about you tell me some of the points? I'll think of something in the meantime.
I think similar to what you said, and you mentioned already, is that schedule, and that is kind of similar to breaking into tasks. But if you have that schedule, that timetable in place, just literally have a timetable and like literally print screen it and put it as your screensaver if you want for the day, so that you're constantly looking at it. It's constantly reminding you, okay, 2 p.m. we've got to do this.
Good point.
And if it's at 2 p.m. and you're doing something else, then your mind's going to play games. Mind's going to constantly think, okay, look, I'm not doing it. And if you don't do it, you're going to feel guilty. You're going to go through the whole kind of, you can call it a relapse process. And thinking to yourself, okay, I'm going to just feel sorry for myself and kind of go back to looking at Gary Vee's content.
I actually did remember my third point. It's a very important point. And I heard this on a YouTube video about a guy who's giving tips about, I think it was Ali Abdul, I'm not sure, about, YouTube and stuff. And it's about finding someone to hold you accountable. That was a very interesting concept that I didn't think about before. And what that means is, so for example, me doing the podcast on my own, the only person who's going to hold myself accountable is myself. So I need to motivate myself all the time. However, me doing it with Cheyenne, for example, what would happen is, let's say today, can't be asked. He's like, okay, we're starting this at 3 p.m., let's say. Now I can't because he's waiting for me. Now we have to do it. It's not an option. Do you get it? So we hold each other accountable. So if you're struggling to get into fitness, maybe find someone initially you can go gym with, because when you can't be asked, he's going to be like, get your ass off. We're going to go gym. And vice versa. When they can't be asked, you're like, okay, we need to go to gym. So you actually motivate each other. And stick, obviously, ideally with someone who's going to motivate you, not the other way around, ideally, obviously. But I do think that's a huge, huge factor, really. What do you think?
100%. Yeah, I think that's great. Accountability is a very important thing, especially when it comes to, I think that's one of the big reasons why my clients come to me for coaching is that accountability.
It's the mentality as well.
They know that
you hold them accountable. Like, you're going to have to do the session right now. There's no excuses. Like, just, we're going to have to do this.
But also,
And
if they, for example, don't send me their, their MyFitnessPal daily chart of what they've eaten, for example, or they haven't sent me the weekly check-in, then they know it's their fault. They're paying their money to kind of get my expertise and my knowledge. And I said to them, look, money is one factor, but you're putting that money because you want that accountability. That's one of the main reasons why you're kind of investing into yourself. And that's what's going to make
you need
progress.
to find someone who's not a yes man or a yes woman. And a yes man, for people who don't know what that is, this is a person who's like constantly, sugarcoating things for you and not, being harsh on you when it's required. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like you see a lot in boxing where sometimes a yes man is like, yeah, you're amazing. Yeah, you're amazing all the time. Kind of like kissing your ass a bit. That's not going to help you. That's not going to be good for you. When you're doing bad, you need someone to tell you like, listen, you're slacking. You're not training. You need to get your ass back into training. That's not a joke. Do you know what I mean? So find people like this because that helps a lot. It really, motivates you. It hurts a bit, but it motivates you for sure. I think big factor. Yeah.
And what would be your kind of closing thoughts with what we've spoken about for the last, I think it's been about 45 minutes now, probably.
I would say, so the closing remarks for this kind of episode, we were just touching briefly on each aspect, which is nutrition and fitness and productivity. But I think we can easily do a whole podcast on each subsection of those.
Definitely.
But today we just wanted to, especially because it's the start of Ramadan and there's a lot of people who like, I want to make this the most productive Ramadan ever. And some people who may not be Muslim, but they're like, I want to try this month of fasting and see what I can do with that. You can take kind of a general overview of tips from this episode, learning about how to have the correct nutrition. And hopefully this can motivate you to track your calories using popular apps like MyFitnessPal. And then in terms of exercise, create a routine. You could go to bodybuilding.com and, create a exercise schedule, follow through that schedule. So that's your fitness and nutrition check. And then productivity, just make a planner, whether it's on the phone, Apple Notes, on handwritten, whatever it may be, of what you want to achieve from, work, study, university, whatever it is you're doing, and just be very, very productive and efficient. And trust me, with time, after a month of doing it, it will turn into a habit and you'll reap the benefits by the end of the month for sure. I don't know, Cheyenne, if you want to add any other closing remarks as well.
100%. I agree with that. And I would say, we can answer any questions that you guys have in the comments. Drop some questions down. If you enjoyed the kind of the podcast, and obviously it's one of our first times doing it, so we probably went into so much information, but we'll kind of have more sections in the future.
Guys, if there's literally any topics from either of what we discussed or what we haven't discussed that you're interested in us talking about, especially with our backgrounds, maybe you're interested in knowing more about our views on certain nutrition, tech, medicine, business, whatever it may be, drop it in the comment section. And if you got any people that you want to suggest that should probably be on this podcast, send them through as well, for sure.
Definitely, 100%.
Yeah, definitely.
And that was 2 Londoners and a mic. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode.
Thank you guys for watching, and we'll hopefully see you in the next episode.